Welcome back, Wanderers. Today we got a special adventure. Well, not really an adventure. Special episode. I am going to be installing a snorkel on Lucy. Long time needed. We've had it for a while. I just haven't gotten around to doing it because it looks like a giant pain.
It's scary.
Well, I just have a fear of cutting into a fender. So I'm going to take my time, measure 4 times before I cut once, and we'll go from there. So far, I don't want to bore you with all the easy stuff that I'm sure you can figure out on your own. If you're looking for a guide to do this, this will be a good, quick, how-to on a GX470. Just so you know what I've done so far, you can look over here. I've taken my tire off to give me better access, and then the inner fender, which keeps all your water outside of the fender, I popped all these off, thankfully without breaking any, to access all the clips for this. Now this gives me access to behind the fender, which I will need in order to screw the snorkel in when everything is done. And then the last thing I'm going to do is replace our inner rubbers, the engine splash guards, because they are getting old and brittle. So I've taken this out, which is pretty self-explanatory. If you need a tutorial on that, you probably shouldn't be doing this project. And in here I disconnected the filter housing and took off the 3 screws that took that housing off as well, which gives me, so as you can see, 3 screws, 12 millimeters, and then I have my filter. We're going to need access to this, where we're going to be clamping in one of the sections of pipe for the snorkel. So the benefit of a snorkel, if you don't know, is if you get into some water, you're not going to get water into the engine. It gives you a higher point of air intake, just so we're not getting water into the engine.
Sucking up water.
Right.
Or dust.
Well, yeah.
It'll help with some of the
It'll
dusty
help with
roads.
some of the dust as well.
Mud.
But the biggest fear is hydrolocking an engine.
Yes.
Certainly don't want to do that, because then you need a new engine. So I'm going to get back to work, and hopefully this will help you get to where you're going. All right, so the next step, what I just did is, as you can see, I have some blue painter's tape. I know it's not super flat because I'm not a taper. If I was, I'd be a professional painter. I'm not. So I just wanted to do that so when we drill into this with the 4-inch hole saw, we're protecting the other paint, not damaging all the other surfaces. So I just wanted to protect as much as possible. So we're going to get the template on, and I'll show you that next. All right, so what I did is I measured the template from the edge, and I actually moved it about 1/4 of an inch in, just to give me a better lineup of where the snorkel is going to be on the A-pillar. And I am not gonna drill into the A-pillar. Some people do, and do the rivets to mount the top piece. I'm actually going to go with a different approach. I just hate drilling into the A-pillar, to be honest, because if I screw it up, then it's a major repair, and I don't want to ruin the structural integrity of this, so we're not going to drill into the A-pillar. So what I did is I put the template in. As you can see, I lined it up, and you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes, and then the one big one. This is where the hole saw comes in, the 4-inch, for where it's going to meet up with the air intake box. So time to start drilling. Okay, so a little bit of progress. Last you saw me tape up the template and the painter's tape underneath. So I'm going to turn the camera around. All right, so what I did is I got a 4-inch hole saw, and there was a point on the plastic or on the template where you were supposed to drill. You also had a drill hole here, drill hole here, drill hole here, drill hole here, and drill hole here. Now, this one and this one ended up being too high. So after I put the bolts on the back, they wouldn't actually line up. So what I did is I put all the bolts on, put the bottom 3 in, made sure this piece fit in, and then I drilled the top 2. So if you are getting this kit, I believe Dobson's, the eBay, the Amazon, they're all very similar. Just watch these top 2 holes because now I have 2 holes. But what am I going to do? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm actually going to clean all this up, deburr it, because I'm sticking screws through, and I'm actually going to prime the back to make sure that I'm not going to rust out anytime soon. So again, learn from my mistake. Don't do the top 2 holes until you get the bottom 3, the hole, and then you can kind of figure out where those are supposed to be, because they did not line up with the template. Lesson learned. All right. So as I was telling you before, I took the template off, and these secondary holes kind of made me a little upset, but nothing I can do about it now. The template was a little bit off. So what I did is after I took the template off, I retaped it off, and I painted it with a spray-in bed liner, a primer, and then a spray-in bed liner. I sanded it down a little bit just to get it to adhere. Again, it's just to protect the bare metal from rusting out. So let's take this off and see what we got. And it doesn't have to be perfect because everything is going to be covered. So as you can see, I just did little squares. Not a big deal, just to make sure it was covered. It's not going to hurt anything. So let's continue the install. Alright, so we're going to do a quick update. So I got all the bolts in, which were a giant pain. There's one bolt I just can't get my hand up to where the nut is. On the back here you have a little bracket. I don't know if you can see it. This is on for the snorkel part, which I'm actually going to get a rare earth magnet to stick up there to keep that in. In here I got the airbox back in. It's 3 bolts that tie that down. And then you have 2 clamps holding on the rubber hose. And now I'm going to show you under the fender here. I got to do 2 more clamps on that rubber hose, and you can see all the bolts in the back here, which give us a good look at everything. But that's pretty much installing a snorkel. Like I said, the biggest disappointment was the holes not matching up to the template, to where the screws actually would go in. But we made it work. Like I said, I sealed them so they're not going to rust, and we're going to have snorkel. So I'm excited. So hopefully this helped you. Again, this is on my Gx470, and I didn't want to bore you with a long drawn out me kicking and screaming trying to get these bolts in, and so I just wanted to show you how it was done. And if you have any questions, give me a call, or no, don't give me a call. Just put them in the comments. One of the things I would probably do is move it down just a little bit and move it forward just a little bit more. If you were to tackle this project, it might make that last bolt a little easier to get at if you move it down and forward. Just because of where it's at, it's very, very, very tight. And I do not have small hands. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll talk to you soon. All right, so if you've come this far, you realize that I've been working on the Snorkel, and this was the JW Off-Road kit. I actually got it from JW Off-Road, which, from my understanding, it's a kind of a generic kit, not for multiple vehicles, but multiple people sell it. So if you get on eBay, Amazon, I guess it's just one manufacturer for all these people that are selling them. So a couple of things that I want to point out. Number one, fitment is okay after some tweaking. I still have to button it up today, which is what I'm doing. This is now another day. I'm still buttoning it up. And there's a couple things I do want to point out that I had to do, just so you're aware. So hopefully you've watched this all the way through before attempting the install yourself. Hopefully you can learn from my, I'm not going to say mistakes, but my mishaps. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you a little bit. Sorry about the sun glare. So as you can see, everything looks good here. Nothing crazy. I still got to button this back up. That's not a big deal. Now, the one thing that kind of drove me nuts is there is one bolt all the way at the end here. It's right down there. I don't know if you can see it, but that I just couldn't get the nut on. I couldn't get my hand up there. I couldn't get enough threads through to actually get my fingers on it to snug it down. The rest of them snugged down fine. There was no problem with any of those. Okay, so there was 5 total. 4 of them are snugged down. That one, I'm going to keep working it a little bit just to see if I can have any better luck today. It's just one of those obnoxious things. I wish I had moved it just a little bit closer, maybe another 1/4 of an inch, and I may have had a little bit better luck. Another thing that I thought of after the fact is it might be a lot easier to remove the bumper. Well, not the bumper, the fender. Just because you could then access all the secure points. So as you saw earlier, the template, the top 2 holes did not line up great. So I had to re-drill, which really bothered me. The A-arm, I decided not to drill. So what I did is I got a 40-pound magnet, and it's a rare earth magnet, just to secure that. It's not going anywhere, you know. And if it does, it's just going to pull off and pop right back. I just have a problem with drilling into the A-pillar. Call me a chicken, call me inexperienced, whatever. Not the first time I've been called names. So we're not going to worry about that. So the first thing is the bolt. Didn't love that, okay? That I couldn't get that, and I hated the fact that I had to re-drill. There are 2 other things I do want to point out. So when you're going through and getting everything ready, you do a dry fit. Now, the dry fit allowed me to realize that there were some design flaws, okay? And when you put the backing piece on the fender and then the Snorkel on, you'll realize, and the rubber sleeve, you'll realize that you can't get the screws through the holes. because the rubber piece is too big. So you have to trim the rubber piece. Okay, now I trimmed roughly about, I'm going to say about a half an inch. I'm going to show you here, maybe even an inch. So that is, just using my finger for reference, that's how much I trimmed off the rubber boot. Because what was happening is when the rubber boot was fully inserted onto the snorkel and fully inserted onto the part behind the fender, it just wasn't getting close enough. And of course there's limited room behind the fender, so I had to trim in order to get it. Now after I trimmed that, it still wasn't fitting. Because then the plastics on the inner piece and the outer snorkel were hitting. So I had to trim the plastic piece. So I actually trimmed, again, I'm going to use my finger for reference. I know this isn't the technical measurements, but I had to trim that much off of the snorkel opening. So this would go on this side where it goes into the rubber boot. So again, two things that kind of bugged me because this kit's supposed to be pretty much drill a hole or drill a few holes and pop it all together, but obviously this was not the case, so I had to do some tweaking, which is why there was a break in the video, and now I'm coming back to tell you all about it because now I've calmed down and I don't have to edit out all the expletives. So that being said, there were a couple things I'd like to see improved on the kit. All in all, it's not bad. I mean, the rubber boot to the airbox, you had to struggle to get it on, but it worked. But everything buttons up and looks good as far as I'm concerned. It is functional. It is drawing air. It doesn't appear to be drawing air from anywhere else, so that's good. Hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and some of the problems I had, and now we can get a little bit muddier without worrying about hydrolocking the engine. That is the purpose, and also get some clean air from above the tire. So when we're desert running and out in Moab or whatever, the dust will change or not get as dusty. So the one thing I am going to change is I am going to get a pre-cleaner for the snorkel. Yes, I know this is angled down so it doesn't get the water, but rain is rain, and as you're driving, it's going to get in there. So just for my sanity, I am going to get a pre-cleaner, hopefully sooner than later. I just wanted to get the thing installed, that way I could stop worrying about it and stop looking at it in my garage saying, man, I really got to do that. Hope you found this, I don't know about entertaining, but educational, and hope to see you back here soon. We have some adventures coming up, so stay tuned.